You know, as a history professor, I've found that the biggest, most explosive questions are usually the oldest ones, and today we're tackling an absolute giant. Who gets what and why? Seriously, that simple question has shaped just about everything about the world we live in, and it's as important today as it ever was.
Think about it. From the French Revolution all the way to the fall of the Berlin Wall, this question has sparked conflicts and inspired completely new ways of organizing ourselves. And we're not just talking about who has the most money. We're talking about the very blueprint for a society, the fundamental rules that decide who gets a chance to thrive and who might get left behind.
So how in the world do you even start to unpack a topic this massive? Well, we're going to use a really fascinating text as our guide. It's called Iqtisaduna, which basically means our economics. And it gives us this incredible lens to compare three of the most powerful economic ideas in human history: Marxism, capitalism, and what the text outlines as Islamic economics. All right, to really get to the heart of what makes each of these systems tick, we're going to look at four key battlegrounds. First, who owns the stuff that makes the stuff? Second, how much freedom do you really have to use it? Third, how does the economic pie actually get sliced up? And finally, what's the government's job in all of this? Let's start at the very foundation, the absolute bedrock of any economy: ownership. And specifically, who gets to own the things that create all the wealth in the first place?
And that brings us to this really crucial concept: the means of production. Now, it sounds a little academic, I know, but all it really means is the big-ticket items we use to create value. We're talking factories, farmland, technology, raw materials, the whole shebang. And as you're about to see, the answer to who owns these things is a fundamental fault line that divides these three economic worlds.
And wow, the differences here are just night and day. Marxism comes in and says, nope, no single person owns a factory. It belongs to everybody, to the community. Capitalism answers back, hold on, the right for an individual to own that factory and profit from it is absolutely sacred. And then Islamic economics, at least according to our source text, proposes a kind of third way, a model where private, public, and state ownership can all exist at the same time. It's a real hybrid system.
Okay, so ownership is one piece of the puzzle. But what can you actually do with the things you own? This question leads us right into the huge debate over economic freedom. And this is where you see a really deep philosophical split. Capitalism tends to champion near total economic freedom. The argument is that this is the engine of progress, of innovation, of prosperity. But Islamic economics, as it's laid out here, basically puts a fence around that freedom. It says, yes, freedom is vital, but it's not unlimited. Your personal economic choices should be guided by a kind of moral compass to make sure you're not harming the broader community. Freedom, but within a framework of justice. And now we get to maybe the most controversial question of them all. Once all the wealth has been created, who gets a slice of the pie? How big is that slice? This right here is where the arguments over economic justice really catch fire.
Now, our source text, Iqtisaduna, makes a really powerful claim on this point. It says that how we distribute wealth isn't just some automatic, technical result of how we produce things. It's a choice. It's a moral decision. A society actively decides on the rules for who gets what, and those rules are a reflection of its deepest values.
So how does each system make that choice? Well, capitalism says distribution is mainly based on what you own and what the market is willing to pay you for it. Marxism, in its socialist phase, says it's based on how much work you do. In its final communist ideal, it's about what you need. And then Islamic economics comes in and tries to weave the two together, arguing that both your hard work and your basic human needs give you a legitimate claim on society's wealth. And this is just a brilliant distinction. You know that famous Marxist phrase, from each according to his ability to each according to his needs? Well, that's presented as the end goal, a promise for some perfect utopian society way off in the future. But in the Islamic economic doctrine we're looking at, taking care of people's basic needs isn't a future dream. It's a present-day job. It's framed as a guaranteed right for every single person right here, right now. So, last big question. Who's the referee? Who enforces all these rules? This brings us to the role of the state, the government, in the economy. In this Islamic economic model, the state is definitely not a passive observer. It's designed to be a very active player. Its job is to provide a real social safety net, to work to prevent wealth from getting too concentrated in a few hands, and to have the power to step in and regulate things whenever the system seems to be getting out of balance. And that's a huge contrast with the other two systems. The classical capitalist view is for a hands-off government. It's basically a night watchman,
there to protect private property and enforce contracts. But that's about it. Marxism, on the other hand, sees the state as this incredibly powerful but temporary tool. It's meant to be used by the working class to build a new society. And then, once that classless society is achieved, the state itself is supposed to just wither away.
So there you have it. 3 systems, 3 completely different blueprints for a just and fair society. Now, of course, in the real world, none of these exist in their 100% pure form. But their ideas, their DNA, if you will, are all around us. They're in every news headline, every political debate. So the real question isn't just which one is right. It's, as we look around today, which of these principles do you see shaping the world? And more importantly, which ones will we choose to build our future on?